So what's the grape is for talking about today? Well, we are talking about California wine, and one of the most important wineries that I wanted to discuss today is called Stag's Leap Vineyard, and this is a very interesting property that I wanted to share with you. This is Artemis, which is one of their wines that they produce. But if you're not familiar with Stag's Leap, we're going to show you on the map right here, and we broke out our California map. And right over here, this is called the Stag's Leap Wine District. And this is a very mountainous range right here. So you get some very important vineyards over here. You get Schaefer, but quite honestly, Stag's Leap has got quite a history to it. And I wanted to actually explain a little bit about this, as I always bring up the past, the present, and the future. So one year I was in Bordeaux, close to 20 years ago, and we were at the VinExpo show, which is a very important fair that used to be in Bordeaux, now is in Paris. But so one year I had a Norwegian friend, Nicholas, who wanted to chum along with me, and he was an importer of French wines to Norway. And he asked me, he said, David, I'd like to import some California wines to Norway. It's Norway's are state stores, so you have to sell to the actual government who runs the wine, if you want to say the wine retail stores there in Norway. So I said, sure, I'll take you. We'll go to the pavilion, which is the California Wine Pavilion. So we found it, and I saw over 150 bottles all lined up of the greatest California wines at this show. And it was quite breathtaking, because I didn't see anybody at the booths. We're obviously, attending this fair, which was quite large. But so we start to get into the booth a little bit, and there was a gentleman that came out, and he introduces himself, and he said, "Hi, my name is Warren Winiarski." And of course, I knew who Warren Winiarski was, but my friend Nicholas from Norway did not know. And he said, "Come on in. I'd like to meet you guys." So he proceeded to show us a map of Stag's Leap Wine District. And he actually explained to Nicholas, I don't have a company, an importer for Norway. So actually, I've been looking for it. And I was explaining to Nicholas, if you get Stag's Leap, you don't even need another California winery. And of course, my friend Nicholas was not really aware of Stag's Leap, but the history of Stag's Leap I was aware of. And just to share with you a little bit about Warren Winiarski, who actually is a true gentleman, He's still there. He doesn't own Stag's Leap Winery anymore. He actually sold his property, and it's now run by Antinori, one of the big powerhouses in Italy. He's still running. Warren is still running a property called Arcadia, which is in Coombsville. But what he was trying to explain at that time, which I'm trying to point out on this map, is what they call AVAs. And I want to talk about that because today AVAs are identifiable zones and regions that are quite unique to explain the differences between St. Helena and Coombsville and Stag's Leap District. But what Warren did, which was very, very unique, and he's got a long history. He worked at Robert Mondavi's cellars. He started at Souverain, so he's had quite a tutelage. He also, when he was first starting this vineyard, he had Andrei Teleshev as an assistant. So you're talking about the heavyweights of Napa Valley. But in 1976, they had the great challenge in Paris. Now, if you're not familiar with what happened, they put together a tasting to put up the greatest wines of France against the greatest wines of California. And of course, nobody really knew California wines back in the day as much. So it was an entering point for Napa to become on a world stage. So Warren Winiarski entered his 1973 Stag's Leap, and at that time it was the Cask 23. And it went up against 70 and 71 vintages of Mouton, Lafite, Montrose, and Léoville-Lascasse. But guess who won the actual event? It was Stag's Leap. And that set the tone for Warren Winiarski, Stag's Leap, and Napa Valley to be on that world stage and considered one of the finest wines in all of the world. And so I didn't have a chance to explain all this to Nicholas. And of course, how humble was Warren Winiarski just to introduce himself and just say, hi, I'm Warren Winiarski, and I would love you to represent my wine for Norway. Of course, I couldn't get it at the time. It was already taken by some of the biggest distributors in the United States. But we wanted to share a story with you because this is Artemis. It's a 2020 Stag's Leap. The Cask 23 is quite expensive. If you can find it, sometimes it's running $500 a bottle. This Artemis is actually what I would say, if you really want to try a Stag's Leap Cabernet and not spend a lot of money, buy the Artemis, because usually about $100 or maybe a little under $100 a bottle. This is the 20 vintage, and we wanted to highlight. But again, this is the Grape Explorer, sharing stories and talking about great wines of the world.